So game 5, again we have peasant on the board, and right away I want to stick my plus action token on the Margrave, so that's what I'm looking for long term. Margrave attack cannot be defended against here, so it should put in some work. Now how do I open? Well, definitely a peasant. The question in my mind was whether or not to open with a forager or with a steward. So if your steward and peasant don't collide, then that's real good news for you, because you get to trash 2 cards and upgrade your peasant. If they do collide, not so good, because you probably would choose to play the peasant over the steward, meaning no trashing. So I'm going to play a little bit safer here by opening with a forager instead of the steward and a peasant. My opponent goes for the steward and the peasant. Probably you should open steward and peasant. I think there's a 70% chance that it doesn't collide, so I think that's good enough to go with, but oh well. Anyways, my opponent's steward actually misses here, means he doesn't see it on turn 3 or 4, which is kind of bad for him, really. I pick up a second peasant, as does my opponent. The havens are going to be very, very nice cards, especially in the early game here, because you can potentially avoid collision like this with the steward and the peasant, right? Potentially. Anyways, a couple fishing villages for both of us here. The fishing villages are still important, even though you could stick your plus action token down on something. Like I said, I want it to be on Margraves. Unfortunately, I haven't enough money to buy a Margrave yet, but maybe soon. Maybe with havens too. So here, saving the steward seems obvious. It can come on the next hand, where it will have more options to trash. It also avoids collision with this soldier here, which I would rather play sooner. I would play sooner rather than later to get to fugitive. And another fishing village for me here. So things are looking okay for me, probably because my opponent didn't get the trash with their steward. On 3 here, I think about another fishing village, but I think that's enough fishing villages for now. I would rather have another steward in the deck. It can serve as draw at this point in the game. I think my deck will be thin soon enough. The forager will get to foraging and trim the deck size down. So in light of that, I will draw with this steward to try to look for the forager, maybe to look for the fugitive, to look for something anyway. I do find the fugitive, which is good news. Means I'll get to play that plus my soldier here and upgrade both of those guys. So I do have an option here, I believe, for Margrave, and I will go for it. I use the haven to set aside a copper, and I'm still able to trash something with the forager, so that's pretty nice. Even nicer is that I get a Margrave here, and I will get another peasant with the Margrave. So what am I looking to do here? Well, I'm actually looking to get a bunch of attack cards into play, hopefully the Margraves, and then follow it up with a couple soldiers. So this is what I want the fishing villages for. The fishing villages will also support the stewards if I want to use them for draw or coins or whatever. Now here I was hoping, so I drew first to hopefully find the Margrave. With the disciple, didn't happen, so I ended up having to play the disciple, use the disciple on a steward. I think that was the play of least risk, so I drew with it, and then I saw my Margrave, so I stopped and I took coins with it after that. Not a problem for me here. So I have quite a few stewards in my deck, and I think this actually prompts me to pick up more fishing villages. 10 and quite a few buys actually. I would have picked up double Margrave if I was able to disciple the Margrave, but I wasn't, and I have a lot of stewards in my deck, and I still have to wait a couple turns before I see the teacher, maybe more. So I get a fishing village and another Margrave and another peasant. So these later peasants are supposed to be turned into soldiers to get big bucks from them. So I could play lots of Margraves, and also Haunted Woods as an attack. I don't think it works with Pillage, because Pillage gets trashed as soon as you play it, so oh well. Again, here I have to disciple with the use the disciple on the Steward. So you see the first two cards I draw were dead, so if I just drew with the Steward, I would have had a dead turn. Draw with the Steward instead of using the disciple Steward is what I mean there. So I had to draw a second time with the Steward, unable to use it for coins, but that's not too big of a deal. I have enough money floating around in this deck to get things that I want. I also noticed that my opponent was picking up quite a few Stewards, so I have, what, 3 or 4 of the Stewards here? 3 Stewards, right? He has the rest of them, and I didn't know why he was going after so many Stewards. I mean, he probably wants to put the plus action token on the Stewards, which would be real nice, but I feel like to get this many before the teacher is something you don't want to do. So I pick up the last Steward because, well, look, Steward is the most plentiful action card in my deck. I only have 2 Margraves, and I'm not finding the Disciple together with the Margrave. So I'm going to have to put my plus action token on the Stewards, I think. I think that's what I have to do. Again, it's a time thing. At this point in time, what does my deck look like? What can make the best use of any one of the 4 teacher tokens? And well, I decided that it would be plus action on the Steward, especially given that I used a Haven to store away a Steward. Now the Havens are going to be very, very good now because I can put away 1 draw card because I only have 1 Haven for the next turn, guaranteed to kick off. I don't have to worry about seeing Forager, Soldier, and Peasant and a bunch of junk all together. So there goes the Margrave into the Haven, and we'll play 1 more, guaranteeing me kick off next turn. So it's very much one-way traffic at this point. My opponent is behind on every aspect of the game. I think I have more money. My teacher was put into play before his. I'm reaping the benefits of the teacher here. I'm sticking a soldier and a couple peasants down. So it's very much one-way traffic. I just have to take my time, make reasonable plays, and I should be able to end the game with a win from here. So Haunted Woods, a pillage here. This pillage was kind of stupid for me, and another fishing village, which is whatever. But the pillage was stupid because I thought that I would be able to attack my opponent with the pillage, pick a card out of his hand, but most of the time I would be playing Margrave first, and if I'm playing Margrave first, he will go down to 3 cards in hand, meaning the pillage attack doesn't work, it's ineffective. So you also notice that I didn't convert all of my peasants into soldiers. I kept 1 peasant as a peasant because I was concerned that I may not have enough plus buys for the kind of money that I would be generating if I had 3 soldiers as opposed to 2 soldiers and a peasant. So that's why I kept it solely for plus buy, peasant equal herbalist right now, or ruined market maybe. But I couldn't know this, but I did find the disciple with the Margrave, which is gonna kickstart my turn and give me lots of buys. And I do play the pillage in the false hope that I attack my opponent. I perhaps could have drawn the spoils right away, and probably that's what I should have done, but I didn't end up doing that for whatever reason. So, excuse me, so yeah, just a matter of technique. Now I'm looking at the piles. We have 5 havens, 3 fishing villages. I'm not sure if my opponent could pile out because he just put his teacher on the mat, so he might be able to do something exciting. He has more stewards than me anyway. And in that light, I just pick up a province here to shield myself from any pile out opportunities my opponent might be entertaining. Consider an estate as well to make it that much more difficult for my opponent to pile, but he doesn't end up coming up with anything to pile. He ends up picking up what, pillage and silver here. But I'm not going to give him an opportunity to use that pillage because I'm going to close out the game here. Putting the plus buy token on the Margrave gives me enough buys to clean out the 5 havens and the 3 fishing villages. And I have a bunch of money from the soldiers that are in my deck. So yeah, not the most exciting game in the world here. It was very one-sided because my opponent was slow to trash because of the shuffles, and I just took full advantage of it to close out the game. So this is how game 5 ends. Soldiers can be worth a lot of money. Look at that, $798. That's hefty. Alright, that's how game 5 ends. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the last one.